All right, welcome back to the best training channel on YouTube. Today in the weight room, yesterday I went out to the track, did a bunch of accelerations, working on those block starts again. Kind of the same format that I did from the previous block. I'm doing anywhere between 10 to 12 repetitions. The difference is last training block, I was doing all my repetitions at 20 meters. This training block, I'm starting to extend that out a little bit. So what I did was, I think I did about 4 to 5 reps at 20 meters out of the blocks, 4 to 5 reps at 30 meters out of the blocks, and then 2 to 3 reps at 40 meters out of the blocks. And I'll probably start extending that out as I continue to build a better comfort level coming out of the blocks, getting more aggressive. Then I can start focusing a little bit more on the distances that I'm doing out of those blocks. But today is weight room day. I'm gonna be doing some jumps, some snatches, front squats, overhead presses, and then a little bit of accessory work. Before we get started, still have the 5,000 subscriber goal. We're like 430, 440 subscribers away from hitting the 5,000 subscriber mark. Once we do, I'm gonna be releasing a free speed program for you guys, 8 weeks, every single day laid out for you, entire program to help you get faster, specifically at like that 40-yard dash type range. If you're interested in a program like that and you're new here for the first time, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. You'll get a free program here at that 5,000 subscriber mark. But today, what I'm gonna be focusing on with my jumps is a little bit more of an eccentric load prior to takeoff. So I'm gonna be using a barbell on my back. This is a 10 kilo barbell. And then I'm going to be having a slight drop off into my jump to try to kind of overload that eccentric portion on that transition before I take off. I'm gonna be doing a 2-footed takeoff, and I'm gonna be doing 2 reps, which means with the barbell on my back, my first rep, I'm gonna be stepping off with my right leg and jumping, and then my second rep, I'm gonna be stepping off with my left leg and jumping. You shouldn't confuse this as a depth jump because it's not. The impact is way different. The time spent on the ground is way different. The overall focus of this is way different. I'm just trying to overload that eccentric portion a little bit by having a slight drop off into that loading position as I start to take off for the jump. So doing a slight drop plus having a little bit of external load with the barbell is going to accomplish that very well. So what it'll look like is kind of a longer step. Right foot hits the ground first, left foot comes in, and then explode up onto the box. There you have it. So probably gonna do about 4 sets of that and then move on to some snatches for today. All right, up next for the day is we're gonna be doing some snatches. This is kind of a complex, and just like with the clean complex earlier this week, I'm taking out the snatch pulls and just getting a little bit more volume on the snatch itself. And then I'm gonna be adding in 1, maybe 2 overhead squats, depending on how it feels and what kind of weight I'm at. But I wanna do 2 to 3 snatches plus 1 to 2 overhead squats is kind of the idea that I have for this today. So, gonna do a little bit of warming up here. My working weight is probably gonna be around 100 kilos or so. Not super heavy for today, but we will be increasing the load on this one for this training block as we're kind of building an intensity. And then the next training block, we'll probably be building towards somewhere close to a 1 rep max in some sort of variation, whether that's from the floor, maybe it's power, maybe it's off blocks, whatever it is, but we're gonna be building towards a 1 rep max-ish on the snatch and the clean sometime in the next block. So that's gonna be the idea for this training block. I'm gonna warm up, knock out about 4 to 5 sets on this, and then we're gonna move on to the front squats. All right, I changed my mind. I'm doing sets of 3 on the snatch. I'm not gonna do the overhead squat. I got a blister like right on the inside of like where my thumb and hand is on this here. So holding that bar overhead for the overhead squat is just, the knurling is digging in there. I'm starting to bleed a little bit. So I'm just gonna do 3 snatches. So 105 kilos, probably do 4 sets minimum on this, maybe 5 if everything's feeling good. Triples on the snatch today, and then we're gonna move on to front squats once we finish up these 4 to 5 sets. Snatches are done. I ended up only doing 3 sets because that blister on my hand here started opening up, and just holding that position, even with straps, was too uncomfortable for me to want to do any more reps. So 3 sets on those, not bad. Overall, snatches, like the form and the way that the bar moved felt really good, so I'm happy with those. We're gonna be moving on to the front squats now. I'm gonna be building up to a top set of 4, somewhere around a 7 RPE. Then I'm going to drop the weight down, do a couple sets of 6, and then finish off with like an AMRAP-ish set. Some people have been complaining about my AMRAP sets, that they're not all the way to failure. I don't like training to absolute failure, especially when strength is kind of the goal. So I say AMRAP just because I'm just trying, there's no set number of what I'm trying to do. I am trying to do as many reps as possible, but I'm not going to that point of absolute failure where I'm gonna be dropping the bar. I don't think that's a very smart move to do. So when I say AMRAP, I'm just thinking like somewhere around close to 1, maybe 2 reps left in the tank. That's gonna be good enough. You're not going to gain any extra from doing that last absolute grinding rep, or even failing that last rep, versus just re-racking the bar and finishing it. So 1 set of 4, RP 7, 2 sets of 6, 1 set of an AMRAP, 4 sets total on the front squats. So I'm going to warm up here, start knocking off some sets, and we're going to figure out what that top set's going to be today. Oh, this is about, my microphone might die in the middle of this. I got the red light going on right now. But top set was 150, probably a little bit under like a true 7 RPE on that, but I'd rather undershoot that than overshoot, especially at lower RPEs. I think it's more important that you're a little bit more cautious and not overshoot those, because you're gonna create a little bit too much stimulus, especially earlier in the training block. So if it was like a 7 RPE, and I was to overshoot that, that potentially could do more harm than if I'm supposed to be at like an 8 or a 9 RPE at a later point in a training block, and I overshoot that. So a little bit cautious on those. Probably had 5, maybe 10 kilos more if I really wanted to go for something that I felt would be like a true 7 RPE, but 150 was good. So I'm gonna do my working sets today at 120 kilos. I got 2 sets to 6, 1 set on the AMRAP. So my 6 is here. I'm just gonna try to get the bar on the shoulders, pump them out real quick, knock out 6 reps, get the bar off of the shoulders there, since I'm at a lighter weight than my top set today. Let's see how it goes. 2 sets of 6, 1 set of AMRAP. front squats are done. I feel like all the blood in my body is in my legs right now. So I'm gonna switch it up a slight bit. I've got 2 accessory things I wanna do today. One is an upper body, one is a lower body. Because my legs are feeling a bit fried right now, I'm gonna do my upper body accessory first, give my legs a little bit of a breather, then I'm gonna do my lower body accessory movement, and then that's gonna be it for the session. So that front squat is gonna be something that we're gonna be progressing over the next few weeks. Front squats have been feeling amazing lately. The 180 that I did a couple weeks ago for that top set of 6 is very promising. I'm hoping I can get somewhere to like a 210 to 215, maybe 220 on like a front squat double when I go to test off my front squat towards the end of this strength cycle. One last thing about the front squat. I don't know if y'all saw my post the other day about Joel Seedman's 3 most common mistakes in the front squat. I would like to just give you guys my 3 most common mistakes in the front squat. One of them would be, first off, listening to Joel Seedman about how to do a front squat. I think that's mistake number 1. 2, listening to Joel Seedman about doing front squats. I think that's mistake number 2. And then 3, believe it or not, listening to Joel Seedman about how to do front squats. Those are the 3 most common mistakes that people can do when doing the front squat. A good thing to practice is whatever Joel says, do the opposite. That's what I do. He said, don't let the knees travel too far forward. I let my knees travel as far forward as I possibly can, as long as my heel stays down onto the ground. He said, not maintaining 90-degree joint angles. I go as low as I possibly can, ass to grass if possible. And then I don't remember whatever his 3rd one was, but I'm pretty sure I'd do the opposite of what he said as well. Yeah, whatever Joel says, do the opposite, and you're probably gonna be a good front squatter. So the stance, as you guys can see, I'm a little bit more of like a diagonal stance than straight forward. I just think it allows me to get a little bit better of a pull in this range. All right, last thing I'm doing today is assisted Nordics. So I've done my Nordics on the GHD for quite a while. I'm now transitioning into doing what's more of a true Nordic, which is going to be on a flat surface. The difference between the two is when you're on a GHD, because it's got that rounded pad, as you start to extend yourself out, the point in which you're kind of pivoting over moves from your knee up into your thigh, which makes it a lot easier. And once you're in that straight position, the top of that pad is on your thigh, which allows you to pull back a little bit easier, and then you go back to your knee. So because that kind of focal point changes, it's not a true Nordic, it's kind of a regression from what a Nordic would be. Now that I'm moving into building up towards doing true Nordics, the first step that I like to do is do assisted Nordics. So I'll set up a band on like a squat rack, or for example, this pulley rack that I have today. I'm gonna use that band to kind of lessen the amount of tension my hamstrings are gonna have to endure as I start to extend myself out. The band tension starts to increase, which is assisting how much weight that it's holding from my own body weight. And then I'm going to be pulling myself back up. Ideally, you want that band to be somewhere around the shoulders. You could wrap it underneath, but the lower that assistance point is, the harder that it's going to be. The higher that assistance point is, the easier or more assistance that you're going to feel as you do it. So because of the way I have it set up today, I'm going to hold it with my hands just so it doesn't choke me out on my throat. But what I'm really focused on doing is controlling that movement down, and then I'm trying to initiate the pull with my hamstrings and explode myself back up to the top. The big thing you want to do here is maintain extension through the hip the entire time. You don't want to start flexing at the hip and then extending through. Try to maintain extended hips throughout. Keep that tension on the hamstrings as much as possible. Ideally, you want to go all the way down, touch your chest, to a flat surface at the same height that your knees are, which is why I got 2 boxes here. So I'm gonna be thinking about extension through the hip, let the hamstrings get all of the tension, lower myself down until the chest touches, and then explode back up as quickly as possible. And then that's where that band is going to assist you up. A lot of times when people start doing Nordics, they do it without a band, and they do only the eccentric portion, and then they push themselves back up with their hands and kind of assist that way. It's not a bad way to do it, but that initial push takes a little bit of the tension off the hamstrings and builds a lot of momentum. So you're kind of only doing half of the repetition. I like using the band because it allows me to get full reps of the Nordic in, so I can get full tension on the way down, full tension on the way up, even though I'm getting assistance from my band. So I'm gonna do 3 sets of 5 here. And then the way that you can progress this is start off with a lot of assistance on the band, so using a heavier tension band that will give you more assistance. Then start bringing down the amount of assistance you're getting from the band. So maybe you start with like a 1-inch band into a 3/4 inch, to a 1/2 inch, to a 1/4 inch. That progression might be over the course of months. It's not gonna be like a week-to-week thing. So what I'm probably gonna do is for the next 3 to 4 weeks, stick with this black band. In the next block, I'll probably move down to like a red band, which is gonna be a little bit thinner. And then possibly even do kind of like mixed sets where I do 1 to 2 reps with no band. And then as that fatigue sets in, add the band in for the last 2 to 3 reps on those sets, allowing myself to get some more work in. And then as fatigue sets in, get a little bit more assistance to get the amount of volume and repetitions in that I would like to get. This is my favorite way to progress Nordics, to getting into doing true Nordic raises, which is going to be holding that position all the way down, all the way back up with no assistance. So that's gonna be my last exercise for the day. And then that's also going to be today's video. So hope you guys liked it. Make sure to like and subscribe. We're real close to that 5,000 subscriber mark again. So let's see if we can't get another 400 or so in the next month so I can get you guys that free sprint program. And then I'll see you guys again on Monday. So I've kind of switched around this week because like I said earlier this week, I've got family in town that's visiting. So I'm taking the weekend off from training, gonna just be hanging out and kind of chilling for the weekend. And then we'll be back at it on Monday with our regular scheduled programming. See you guys then, enjoy the weekend, have a good one.